观众朋友们，大家好，欢迎收看嘉华视讯 World TV，我是主持人沈佳。那么今天呢是9月10号，也是第44届多伦多国际电影节的第6天了。今天我们很荣幸呢，能够在这个采访间呢采访我们著名的加拿大华裔导演张乔勇先生。那么今年呢，他也是带着他最新的一部电影《这不是一部电影》，This is not a movie， 来到我们的多伦多国际电影节。那么今天我们就来问问他这部电影都是关于什么的吧。Thank you very much, Yung Chang, and thank you for the time for talking to us. So I guess I will start the interview by asking why this title. This is a weird title for a documentary
这
film.
不是一部电影. Oh, yes, very good. This is not a movie. Well, I think it references a quotation in the movie by my subject, Robert Fisk, who is a very famous journalist from Britain. And he's known for being very controversial because he has a very specific definition of journalism. And so as this older 74岁的老的记者, you know, he's really, his focus is on the Middle East, and he defines journalism as reporting on the side of those who suffer. So in the movie, he says, he talks about Hollywood movies, and in Hollywood movies, journalists are often depicted as heroes. They win the girl, they save the world, But for Robert Fisk, this is not a movie. This is real life. So that's where the title comes from.
So I guess for your past films, it's always about something about your cultural background, where you came from, which is a Chinese heritage. But this film is totally different. It's nothing about China. It's not what audience are used to see the film that's coming out of from your direction. So why him?
Yeah, I think I'm, I made 2 films in mainland China, 1 film in Japan, which was a short film, and I made a film about exotic fruit, which wasn't really about a Chinese subject matter, but I think Chinese and all of us love fruit, so there was a connection to my roots. But this movie, I think, is really more an essay, a film essay, through the eyes of a journalist, to consider what the responsibilities are of a journalist in the West. I think we are having a hard time to figure out what is real and what is fake, what is true and what is false. And for me, I myself get lost in trying to understand what is, how to interpret the news and what is happening in the news. And so I felt making a film about journalism, about a journalist like Robert Fisk, could be helpful for me and for other audiences to learn about what they call media literacy, how to understand the news.
So, because there's some people say that documentary filmmakers are also part of journalists in them. And in the film, we always talk about, the truth about the information that we receive, and then criticize on how internet has changed people receive information. So do you think that really reflects what you believe as well as a documentary filmmaker?
I tend to make a difference. I tend to think of myself more as a filmmaker. I don't see any difference between fiction and documentary in terms of the fact that they're all stories. It's storytelling. And for me, I like this definition of documentary filmmaking from the National Film Board of Canada, actually, the founder, John Grierson. And he actually coined the term documentary. But he also had a definition which was documentary is the interpretation of reality. And that, in my opinion, means, we're not going to film someone eating, a bowl of noodles for 30 minutes and just watch them. That's not particularly what I want to do with my filmmaking. I know that there are filmmakers who will do that, but for me, I'm looking for the story. I want to find the arc of the story. I want to make it look and feel interesting. I want to strive for something more cinematic, something that you can see on the big screen. And I think this movie is an example of something you can watch on the big screen in a movie theater with an audience. I think also that there is something journalistic about this particular film. I think all my films have the tendency of journalism, which is, you know, there's a truth to them, and this one in particular, and the reason why I think it looks different, it feels different than my other films, is because it is about a journalist, and the relationship that I had with this journalist was that, you know, we're not going to set up the camera and fix a shot. Otherwise, it doesn't feel real. I mean, we don't have the time to do that. In his journalism, you're chasing the story. And so we had to keep the camera very nimble and move and follow the action. And so that is why I think this film probably adheres closer to a form of journalistic kind of approach to filmmaking.
I guess I want to ask something personal on the side of you know, your lifehood, and then because you are a Chinese Canadian and you're also a filmmaker and you made film, you know, about various subjects. Where do you see the role that you play as a Canadian Chinese documentary filmmaker?
I think that as a Chinese, I think I will always have a connection to who I am, my culture, my language. 你知道我的父母他们都是中国人对吗？他们是移民者。我妈妈是北京来的，我爸是上海来的。So and I have a lot of relatives in mainland, and so there is a connection for me. I always feel that I'm not a Canadian, nor really Chinese. I'm sort of in between.
You were born here, right?
I was born here, but I have a cultural sensibility for, and a comfort going back to mainland. I never really felt comfortable here as a Chinese here in Canada. I don't know why. I feel like I'm in between two worlds, and I like that feeling. And I think as a filmmaker, maybe that's how I approach my films, that there's a feeling of curiosity that I don't, like, for example, in this film, I think I like to explore stories about people who are also uprooted and rootless. Even Robert himself, he lives in Beirut, you know, he's British living in Beirut. I think that's an example of the kind of people and stories that I like to tell.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
谢谢。
那么也很感谢我们的那个张乔勇导演。那大家一定要在 Tiff 的期间呢，去 check out 这个 film， 去看一看这个导演想要表达的东西。可能在电影里面你能学到不同的人生感悟。那么同时也谢谢张乔勇导演。对了，有一个事情大家可能在网上也可以搜得到。那么张乔勇导演呢，也是2次的金马奖的得主。那么我们也希望他能够之后能够再有更好的佳绩。那么再次感谢 ，Thank you very much for your time。
谢谢。